Salutations, future Twig. Past Twig here once again, and we're back with another card call out for everybody. Today's card we have is Radiant Performer, perhaps one of the very first cards I ever found that was kind of like a janky but very cool card, and I felt that was horribly underplayed when it first came out. And it's a 5-mana human wizard that's a 2-2 with flash, so it can be played on anyone's turn. But the thing that makes it very interesting to me is this final ability. When Radiant Performer enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, choose target spell or ability that targets only a single permanent or player, copy that spell or ability for each other permanent or player that spell or ability could target. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents or players. So this is incredibly powerful. It allows you to take a simple cantrip, such as like a 1-mana make target creature have haste and draw a card, like Red Sparks or whatever, and makes it so it hits every single creature on the field. And so there's a lot of ways you could use this. If your opponent casts a piece of removal on like your commander and your commander's going to die, you can throw this card down and have it basically turn into a board wipe. There's a lot of different ways that I think this card can be used in different types of deck archetypes to get a ton of value and maybe even close out the game if your deck's built correctly for it. But first off, let's get into the stats for it. It's a 29-cent card because it got reprinted in Commander 2021, and it's only in about, actually not even 7,000 decks. Very underrepresented for how powerful this effect is. And let's get on to the synergies for this card. So first off, and most importantly, it can copy a single spell or ability that targets something. So obviously, instants and sorceries are fair game. And in mono red or in Izzet colors, you have a ton of different options of commanders that love this. An example here is Ashleen Flame Dancer with Magecraft, which basically states that whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you can then discard a card and draw a card. And of course, if you continue to cast and copy spells on the same turn, you get varying levels of power, including damage to opponents, and also adding a ton of mana. So obviously, if you drop down Radiant Performer, you're going to get a ton of different triggers. You're potentially going to have a ton of different casts and copies. Ashleen's going to trigger, and you're going to have a ton of mana and other stuff build up. Very cool, very powerful synergy. Moving on, Radiant Performer also applies to triggered abilities of commanders. So another example, and one of my personal all-time favorite in terms of lore, is Zero the Golden Sting here. Whenever she attacks, put an egg counter on another target creature without an egg counter on it. Well, if you flash in Radiant Performer for your turn, when this trigger goes off, that turns into put an egg counter on every single creature on the battlefield that does not have an egg counter on it. Yours and your opponent's. So obviously, this is very powerful because since Zero is a token-based deck, as she creates those 1/1 insect creatures, you can basically have a ton of tokens down on your side of the field, drop Radiant Performer, and now everything on the field is primed with egg tokens, which when those creatures die, which a board wipe or something that you do, you're going to be drawing cards and creating even more insects. So you can potentially have this like reoccurring cycle occur with that. And last but not least, you have incredibly powerful synergies such as Varen, Voice of Duality. That Magecraft ability of her alone with Radiant Performer can make Varen into like a flipping 10-10, 12-12, or even bigger creature with the number of ability casts you can get off of this. Additionally, since you're probably going to have a lot of stuff that benefits from Varen's second ability where she allows you to basically get extra triggered abilities of permanence due to casting or copying instants, so you're going to have stuff down that benefits from you casting and copying instants. Dropping Radiant Performer when Varen's out is going to cause this cascade effect of value on your side of the field and duplicate a ton of different spells. Things are going to be popping off all over the place, and if you set up your Radiant Performer right, so when you drop her, you're potentially just going to outright win the game. The best part, Varen Voice of Duality is an Izzet card, and Izzet has a fantastic suite of options for returning creatures from the battlefield to your hand, so you can basically blink Radiant Performer back to your hand, recast it on a later turn if you didn't win the game on that turn, and continuously get value from it. So fantastic synergies all around. And that's actually all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning into this card call, and have a wonderful day. Take care, all.